Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve.
Hi everybody, how you doing? This is always like some weird framing. Anyway, hi everybody, how you doing? This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic, and I'm here for another week of stuff. If this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you are here. Click that bell for notifications if you were on the YouTube. I'm just all messed up today. Okay. And yeah, and what I do here is I talk about movies and I interview people every once in a while. So today, got a bunch of stuff for you, including a interview with the cast of Nuremberg and interviews with the cast from Robin Hood. Yay! Anywho, I usually talk about what I did the week before. This week was a pretty light week for me. I didn't do a whole lot, but what I did do was I watched the LA Dodgers win the World Series, baby, because you know I'm a baseball fan. Yes, I am. So I must be good luck because every city that I'm in or that I'm from or call home, they end up being back-to-back champions. So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and the Cardinals were back-to-back champions. I live in Los Angeles, and the Dodgers are back-to-back champions. So there you have it. And then I went to see a screening of Is This Thing On that stars Will Arnett, Laura Dern, Andra Day, and Bradley Cooper, also directed by Bradley Cooper. It is a Searchlight Pictures joint. It comes out in December. And I also went to see this film, which wore me all the way out. It's called Food Delivery Fresh from the West Philippines. It's a documentary about the fight in the Philippine Sea over who has the rights to grab the fish or not, whether it's China or whether it's the Philippines. It was very enlightening, and I'm really, really glad that I saw it. Not sure when this is going to be playing. I think it's via Netflix, but when it hits a theater near you, baby, you want to check it out. Today, we're going to be talking about what are we going to be talking about? Oh, I'm going to tell y'all about what am I going to tell you about? Oh, yeah, here we go. I'm going to tell you about this Netflix movie called In Your Dreams. I don't know why this is so slow. It's like delayed. In Your Dreams. Then I'm going to talk about Sarah's Oil. I have a hometown connection to that. It hits on November 7th. In Your Dreams hits November 7th. We're going to talk about Die My Love, Sentimental. What is this called? I want to say Sentimental Journey, and I know that's not right. Sentimental Value. And I have the cast of Nuremberg. And of course, I said that we were going to talk about Robin Hood. Yay. But before I get into all of that, let's go back up in the chat and see what my boy Brandon has to say. So he says his birthday was last Thursday. Happy birthday, Brandon. Snaps and claps. Yay. And can't wait for Zootopia 2 this month. I will be seeing that. So I'll have that for you. And you're planning on seeing Zootopia 2 in IMAX. I think I'm going to see it in IMAX too. I'm not really sure, but I'll find out when I get there. Anywho, let's get on with it, shall we? All right, so I said I was going to talk about Robin Hood. So Robin Hood is playing on Amazon MGM right now. It debuted today on November 6th, and it follows the journey of the forester's son, Rob, who turns legendary outlaw as he investigates the corridors of power and leads a daring fight for justice and freedom. As Rob grapples with his inner demons and battles against the Norman elite, the series weaves a rich tapestry of historical accuracy, modern relevance, and intricate character dynamics with its expansive scope, including vibrant depictions of medieval England, the Vatican, the palace at Westminster, and beyond, and an ensemble cast featuring compelling stories of Queen Eleanor, played by Connie Nielsen, the spirited maid Marian, and her best friend Priscilla, and more. Robin Hood promises on an exhilarating, action-packed reimagining of the iconic narrative, offering audiences an unforgettable journey unlike any other and a take on history unlike any before it. I have to tell you, I had not seen anything about Robin Hood since Kevin Costner played Robin Hood. He played Robin Hood. I think it was called Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And there was a Aerosmith song that was playing at the end of the credits, and I was like all about it because I'm a big, huge Kevin Costner fan. Instihoo, I really enjoyed Robin Hood, and I got a chance to talk to the creatives and talk to the stars. One of the stars, ironically enough, is in Nuremberg, and I have the cast of Nuremberg too. So let's take a look and a listen to this interview from the cast of Robin Hood. I enjoyed this so much. I don't think I've ever seen a project that delves with that story, the backstory of it. And I was intrigued by that. I was really excited about that. I mean, I've seen stuff where it had a little bit of backstory, but not to this extent. So I was very, very excited. And I just want to know, what is it about the character of Robin Hood that intrigues both of you? And I'll start with Jonathan first.
I think I've always been intrigued about Robin Hood by Robin Hood. I've always been a fan of Robin Hood since I was a kid, you know, and I watch all the different versions of Robin Hood growing up. But I'd never sort of seen a version of Robin Hood that felt a little bit more real, a little bit more grounded, where you, as you said, most importantly, you understand how he becomes an outlaw, why he becomes an outlaw, what happened to him, what happened to his family. And we did a lot of research and a lot of reading about from the early mythology of Robin Hood. And there was a really, there was a great story there that just hadn't been told before.
I loved it. I loved everything about it. I really did. John, can you talk to me a little bit about the challenges of shooting in the forest? Because almost all of the series takes place in a forest somewhere, somehow, someday. And I'm like, was there ever a day where something went awry with some of the battle scenes or someone shooting an arrow?
Well, I mean, it's quite challenging. In particular times of year in Belgrade, I think one of the big challenges are mosquitoes. It was like gigantic mosquitoes that, I'm from Alabama and we have mosquitoes there, but man, these were like prehistoric or something. I mean, I don't even know. I'm not sure they were mosquitoes.
Not prehistoric mosquitoes.
Yeah. Jonathan is our director, directed the pilot, set the whole visual template. So a couple, I'd got there to, see him. And once the mosquitoes came, I'd be like, all right, I got something really important to deal with back at the office, guys. So those challenges, but but Serbia, we shot in Serbia and outside of Belgrade, the forest, and they're just so beautiful. I mean, just so absolutely stunningly gorgeous, and so there's a lot of time, obviously, spent out, in the wilderness, and it's the weather, it's things you can't control because you're not in a sound stage, you're not in a studio. So, but it was fun. It was fun, a lot of fun.
Well, that's my time, you guys. I just have to tell you, I loved everything about the series. I really, honestly, and truly did from the heart, and I particularly loved how you guys handled the prevalent theme of grief that weaves in and out. And as someone who lost my parent earlier this year, that really strongly resonated with me. So thank you. And thank you again for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
Pleasure
time.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Bye. One of the characters says this, and I'm going to pose this to the women. And Jack, I'm going to tell you how I want you to chime in on it. Okay?
Okay.
So she says, as women, we're often put in circumstances beyond our choosing. That doesn't mean we don't have the power over the men that put us there. We only have to recognize our power and become skilled at using it. For you two ladies, how have you become skilled at using your power as a woman? And for Jack, how have you felt like being a part of this project in that way has allowed you to shift and treat women better? So I'll let you think about that, Jack.
And so I think what all the females in this production do so well is they all have very individual tones as women, but they completely use that in their own strengths and ways and like become, I would say, equally dominant as the men in quite different ways, and using different tactics. I guess as a woman in my real life, I feel privileged to not really have to deal with feeling like a woman. How do I say? You go. I'm butchering this.
You're doing great. No, you're doing really great. That was very well and eloquently stated. It was.
Thank you.
Of course.
I think that line from Eleanor was one of the most inspirational lines in the show for me. She has Eleanor's lines are so wise, and Marion really admires her for, showing that independence and power, especially when she's technically, she can't move out of England at the time, and she's still kind of, making decisions, making, all these different relationships and kind of navigating it all very powerfully. So for Marion not having that female role model at the beginning of the show, I really loved exploring that relationship with Eleanor.
See, look at y'all. That wasn't so bad. She did that. Okay, so I'm gonna switch it up for you, Jack. You know what I really want to know? I want to know how long it took you to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow, because that looked like a really heavy bow. And them arrows were super, super long. And I'm like, and it seemed like you was holding it there for a while before you kind of let it go. I need to know about it. I need to know all the things.
No, I when I got the role, I said to Jonathan, when can I get on the plane to Serbia? I need to start practicing, because I wanted it to be me. I wanted to be the one shooting. I wanted to, and I really wanted to get to know the bow and arrow. It was very important. I felt like I needed to live up to the expectation of playing Robin Hood. I didn't want to, someone hand me a bow and arrow and I just have no idea. So, I took all that really seriously. I probably had, I'd say 3 weeks, but, I was on the range all day.
I loved watching this series because I have seen, I'm old as Methuselah, honey, so I've seen every kind of iteration of Robin Hood that lives, but I'm just saying. But what I loved about this series is that we got to see how he got to be that person. We got to see how Robin Hood became Robin Hood, how Marion became Marion, how Priscilla became, we get to see how all these people become who they are. And it was fascinating and riveting to watch. So that goes to your performances and how well you did them and brought a little bit of you to those characters to make them jump off the screen. So I want to applaud you for that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I know y'all were like, she's asking these hard ass questions. What the actual hell? Okay. So I'm going to end it with another kind of deep question. Right. When I was watching this, grief was something that seemed prevalent throughout the series in one form or another. What do y'all think it is about that emotion that gives one the mindset in a positive way or in a negative way? Because some people deal with grief in a positive way, and other people it really drags them down. And I think I will let's let Lauren answer that.
Okay, I think for Marion, I know she's had a very sheltered life and has, dealt with abuse in her childhood, but she, instead of, locking herself in a room and, she picks herself back up, and the fact that she gets sent to Westminster could be seen as a negative thing, but she actually sees it as an opportunity to see this new world and, meet interesting different people. And so I think in that way, her grief and her trauma is actually used in a positive way for her. And I really like that they've written it like that, and they didn't just write her as a victim. And, she uses that the power, and that really grows throughout the series, which really appealed to me.
I love that too. Well, I know y'all glad to get rid of me, but that's my time. I'm just joking. I'm joking. I'm totally joking. And Lydia, you were in Nuremberg, right?
I am in Nuremberg, yes.
You did a fabulous job in that. I wanted to tell you that before I go. I've seen that film.
Isn't it such a great film? Thank you.
You were really, really wonderful. I just wanted to leave and let you know that. All right, I'm out of time, y'all. Thank you so much for giving me Sort of Yours.
See you later.
Yay! So that is the first half. I had to do Connie and Sean by themselves because it's a little longer of an interview. But that interview that you just saw was with Jack Patton, who plays Robin of Locksley, Lauren McQueen, who plays Marion, and Lydia Peckham, who plays Priscilla, and of course, the director, Jonathan English, and John Glenn, the showrunner. All right, so let's get into a couple of other things, shall we? I had talked about In Your Dreams. I haven't had the opportunity to see In Your Dreams yet, but with it coming out this week, I didn't want to let it go by. So it is coming out in theaters on 11/7, which is this Friday, and then it starts streaming on November 14th. It's directed by Alex Wu, and it talks about Stevie and her little brother Elliot and their journey into the wildly absurd landscape of their own dreams to ask the Sandman to grant them the perfect family. The voices are done by Simu Liu, who plays the dad. Kristen Milioti from The Penguin is the mom. Craig Robinson is Baloney Tony, and so many more. So I didn't want the week to go by without acknowledging In Your Dreams. I will see it later this week, and we'll have a review for it up on my site, which is the scroll that is going across at the bottom of the screen. All right, let's talk a little bit about Miss Sarah's Oil. So I have a personal connection to Sarah's Oil because I am from the state of Missouri, and Sarah is from Kansas City, Missouri. And Sarah Rector, who was living in the 1900s, she believes there's oil beneath the barren land she's allotted in the Indian Territory. As greedy sharks close in, Sarah turns to family, friends, and some Texas wildcatters to maintain control of her oil-rich land, eventually becoming one of the first female African-American millionaires. So a lot of people don't know about Sarah Rector. A lot of people only know about this woman right here. Her name is Mary Ellen Pleasant, and she was often called the Mother of California. I learned about her here because somebody had actually approached me about playing her in a reading of a musical. But Mary Ellen Pleasant amassed a fortune by investing in real estate and the stock market during the gold rush in California during the mid 1800s. She was also a prominent abolitionist and used her wealth to support the Underground Railroad and fight against slavery. And people also know this name, Madam C.J. Walker, who was born Sarah Breedlove. She became the first self-made female millionaire in America through her company, which developed and sold hair care products specifically for Black women. We've seen a zillion products. We've seen a zillion projects about Madam C.J. Walker, but nobody hardly knows about Mary Ellen Pleasant, and they sure as hell don't know about Sarah Rector. But the other personal connection that I have to Sarah Rector is this man right here. Sean Edwards is related to Sarah Rector. She is a great grandmother of his. I'm not quite sure what the relation is, but she is a relative of his, and he's been a huge champion in making sure that this film comes to light. It's called Sarah's Oil. You don't want to miss it. It is an Amazon MGM joint. It hits theaters on November 7th. It stars Zachary Levi, and it is an education that we need right now because mostly they're trying to erase our history. So Sarah Rector is part of the American history that we never heard of, but we know about it right now. Cool. Die, My Love is a film that is produced by Mubi, M-U-B-I, Mubi. It hits theaters on November 7th. It's directed by Lynn Ramsey. It stars Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson, Lakeith Stanfield, and Sissy Spacek, and it is produced by Martin Scorsese. Grace, played by Jennifer Lawrence here, is a writer and a young mother who is slowly slipping into madness. Locked in an old house in Montana, her increasingly agitated and erratic behavior leaves her companion, Jackson, played by Robert Pattinson, worried and helpless. What I love about this movie is that Lynn Ramsey never, ever disappoints. And she doesn't disappoint because whenever she does these films, it's always a woman protagonist in the lead, and it's always from a woman's point of view. This film is when they talk about how Grace is agitated and has erratic behavior. She's agitated and has erratic behavior because she's suffering from postpartum depression. And during this time that this movie takes place in, people didn't talk about postpartum depression. They didn't even know what it was. They just thought she was going crazy. The film is strange, it's loud, it's erratic, but it is an erratic look at how postpartum depression affects not only the person who's going through it, but their parents, their family, their children, their husband, everybody that is in contact with that person goes through that postpartum journey as well. It also deals with the aging of parents, how it's very disconcerting to watch the person that took care of you and watched out for you and taught you how to tie your shoes and go to the bathroom and eat is now needing help with those very same things. I'm particularly sensitive to it because I take care of my mom, and as I've said numerous times throughout this year, my father passed away in February, so it hit me very different than it'll hit most people. Is beautifully and hauntingly executed by Lynn Ramsey, and it shows through a woman's point of view how men in particular react to women going through this particular phase in life. Again, it is called Die My Love, and it stars the magnificent Oscar-winning actress Jennifer Lawrence. Sentimental Value is also hitting theaters on November 7th. It is a neon joint. It is starring Bill Skarsgård and Renata Rensviv and Elle Fanning. So sisters Nora and Agnes are reunited with their eccentric father, Gustav, a famous director who disappeared long ago. He offers Nora the lead in his film Baby, and shenanigans ensue. When I tell you the two of them are giving the performance of their lives, and both of them, in my opinion, should be getting Oscar nominations because their performances are so incredibly they're very nuanced and they're very specific. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching them. It delves into the crack in the foundations of a home and the crack in the foundations of a family structure between this man and his daughters and his wife, who has now passed away, and leaving this family with unresolved feelings and unanswered questions about the mom after she's passed away. Renata and Bill's nuanced and subtle performances and the introspective work that they're doing as characters in this film leaves you engaged. And Elle Fanning's work in this film gives you a glimpse into an actor's process of choices and the decision to walk away from a project not knowing how it will ruin your career or not. So I have a quick story about that. When I first moved to LA, I had auditioned for a voiceover project. It was called the Robert Evans Color Cartoon. And I had done the table read for it. And then they asked me to lay down the tracks for it with the possibility of me going into this role. The role was a woman who had been a maid for Robert Evans. When we did the table read, it was no problem. But when we went into the studio to record it, what they wanted me to do was very Gone with the Windish. And I was having none of it. And I struggled with that in that session for like the first couple of pages. And finally, I was just like, you know what? I can't do this. And I put the headsets away and I left the session. And I was petrified because I had just moved to LA. This was a really big get for me. My voiceover agents had gone out on a limb to get me in the room for that table read, which led to this other thing that they didn't have anything to do with. It was my own talent that took me from that table read to that recording session. But what I wasn't going to do, and I said this as I was walking away, what I wasn't going to do was to continue to perpetuate a stereotype that women that look like me had done so that I wouldn't have to. And I wasn't going to perpetuate it in the 1990s, 2000s, just because it's going to make somebody feel comfortable. Now, I don't know how his maid talked. I'd never met her. I'd never seen her, but he was comfortable. He had a very specific view of how Black people talk, particularly Black women in a service capacity. And I just wasn't going to do it. So I really resonated to the Elle Fanning role for that reason. Again, you guys, it's called Sentimental Value. You're going to hear a lot about this film as the award season continues to go along. All right, so now that brings us to Nuremberg. Nuremberg also is dropping on November 7th. It's a Sony Pictures classic joint. It is directed by James Vanderbilt. It stars Rami Malek, Michael Shannon, and Russell Crowe. It is adapted from the Jack L. Hyde book of the same name, and it deals with the Nuremberg trials as they are set to begin. And this U.S. Army psychiatrist named Douglas Kelly, he gets locked in a dramatic psychological showdown with accused Nazi war criminal Hermann Goring, played, as you see in this picture, by Russell Crowe. Michael Shannon plays Justice Jackson, who is the person who prosecutes the Nazi war criminals. And he and I and James Vanderbilt, the director, we talk all about it. So take a look and a listen to this interview with James Vanderbilt, the director of Nuremberg, and Michael Shannon, who plays Justice Jackson. I loved this movie so, 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 so much. And mostly because, I went back and I watched the original footage from the trial where Justice Jackson gave his opening statement. And what it did is when I went back and I watched that, in addition to watching your film, it hit me viscerally for two reasons. I began to wonder about the concept of evil and the importance of accuracy regarding history for generations to come. So I'd like to know from both of you, do you think that human beings are born inherently evil, or do you think we have evil thrust upon us?
That's a great question and a big question. And this is just me personally. I don't think anyone's born inherently evil. I don't always know how it happens. I don't claim to be, I think I'm stunned by the levels of evil that can occur in the world. That still, I think, takes me by surprise. And I guess I'm happy it still takes me by surprise. That means I'm not completely jaded, but I can't explain why, but I think I'm attracted to stories that scratch at that. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to this movie.
I don't honestly even think people pursue evil. I think evil pursues people.
That's deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep, Michael. Okay. One of the lines in the film, and this is another moment that really, really stuck with me. One of the moments in the film is when I believe Russell Crowe's character says, "Just because a man is an ally doesn't mean he's on your side."
Yeah, that's an incredible scene. Yeah.
And Douglas was on the justice's side, whether he wanted him to be or not. How do you think that resonates with you on the other side of this film when you think about that particular line and the times that we're living in right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think in the film, I was really sort of taken by this idea of Doug Kelly being sort of caught between these two things and being charmed by this man that he probably shouldn't be charmed by, but was very charming, and yet also wanting to do the right thing and what he thought may be the right thing, even though it compromised him for his country. So that sort of, that being caught in the middle, I think is, something we all feel at times in our lives. And, one of the reasons I wanted to make the movie, and I've been working on this movie for 13 years. So it was relevant to me. I came to this 13 years ago and I read Jack L. Hyde's book proposal. So it's been a long journey for me, but I mean, I thought it was relevant, then, and I certainly think it's relevant today in the times we're living in now. And I think, unfortunately, it's going to be relevant in the future.
Michael, your performances are always so incredibly nuanced and well thought out. Did you immerse yourself into law to prepare for playing Chief Justice?
I just immersed myself into Jackson as much as I could. I did my usual, scholarship, got a hold of it, any books I could. And, there's a beautiful website online devoted to Jackson and his legacy, and that can lead you down the path to learning more about him if you care to. And I hope this film inspires people, because this is just a fraction of what this man accomplished in his life. It's pretty staggering what he did. but yeah, the a lot of people talk about the showdown between Jackson and Goering in the courtroom in terms of the length of it. Like,
Mhm.
oh, so, but for me, I've memorized, 3-act plays before. I can handle that, but the language itself, uh, the jargon, if you will, uh, the legalese. It took a minute to wrap my head around that. I had to study on that scene for a while. Yeah.
But you pulled it off as you always do because you're that person.
He's
Thank
that
you.
guy.
I
Thank you.
want to thank y'all so much for giving me a slice of your time. Michael, you were fabulous as always. And James, congratulations on such a powerfully wonderful, visceral film. I'm sure that it will do really, really well.
Thank you so much, Carla. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Sometimes, y'all, when I do these interviews around serious films, I don't really quite know what kind of vibe I should have. Like sometimes I'm silly, sometimes I'm not. But there's nothing funny about the Nuremberg trials. There's nothing light about that. So I try to be as serious as I possibly can. I also wanted to remind you, because I'm going to do this every week till it comes out. So my Christmas movie, OWN for the holidays on the OWN channel and HBO Max. The Christmas Showdown starring Corbin Reed, Amber Stevens West, and Loretta Devine, and myself and Oba Babatunde will be coming up soon, along with these other two films, Very Merry Mystery and Fake Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I want to make sure that you guys are aware of those films because, let's keep it light and fluffy. Let's try to, get into the holidays in a really fun, wonderful way. Again, congratulations to the World Series champions, the LA Dodgers. Make sure you check out Food Delivery, which is coming to Netflix. Is This Thing On? As I mentioned, will hit theaters in December. Hold on, I gotta scroll up because I forget the names of these movies sometimes as I talk in that crazy voice. In Your Dreams is coming to Netflix. Again, check out who Mary Ellen Pleasant is. She is called the Mother of California and was one of the richest women in America during the 1800s. We already know about Madam C.J. Walker, and support my brother Sean Edwards and his film, Sarah's Oil. It is in theaters November 7th. Die My Love with the beautiful Oscar winning lovely actress Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson will be in theaters on November 7th. It is directed by Lynn Ramsey and it is produced by Martin Scorsese. I also forgot to say Sissy Spacek is in this film and she's just absolutely wonderful. Die My Love with Renata Rensby and Bill Skarsgård is fabulous in this movie, along with Miss Elle Fanning. And of course, Nuremberg, starring Russell Crowe and Rami Malek and the fantabulous Michael Shannon. Okay, so now, y'all, when I come back on November 9th, which is next Sunday, I'll finally have that morning show interview with Jeremy Irons. Yay! I'll finally get to show that. But we'll also be talking about in the coming weeks, not necessarily next week, but coming up in the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about The Running Man. I talked about Arco with Glenn Powell and Josh Brolin. We're also going to be talking about Arco again because it's going to hit theaters. I talked to you about this film that I saw at the Toronto International Film Festival, Left-Handed Girl. I believe it's going to be screened on Netflix. I'm also going to talk about Jane Austen Wrecked My Life. I just love that title. I think that's hilarious. And I'll have an interview, an exclusive interview, and I might just make this a whole episode by itself. Myself and Cassandra Freeman from the TV series Bel Air, her and I had a really, really nice discussion about her last season in Bel Air, how being Aunt Viv has changed her, what kind of information she had about art coming into that role. It's a really wonderful conversation that we have. And a whole new documentary about Eddie Murphy is dropping on Netflix called Being Eddie. Um, you're not, I'll talk about that when it comes out. So it's coming to Netflix. I'll be talking about that in the coming weeks. And I'll also be talking about Now You See Me, Now You Don't, Jay Kelly, Rebuilding. And then, of course, the Thanksgiving show is going to be what? All about Wicked. So let me come back on camera and talk about that. So I've been invited to the Wicked premiere in New York, and I will be going. I don't know what that's going to entail or what I'm in for, but I am a Wicked diehard fan, as y'all know. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen with that. I'm also going to be talking about a series called The Artist. It's on a new network called The Network, and it has a plethora of Broadway talent involved in that show, including Patti LuPone and Mandy Patinkin. And I actually spoke to both of them. I talked to Patti LuPone and Mandy Patinkin. And yes, Miss Patti tried to come for me, and I had to, set that straight. It wasn't in a bad way, though. She was making fun of my accent because I said y'all. Everybody says y'all. That don't mean you from the South. I'm from the Midwest. The Midwest is not the South. Anyway, you'll see it when we air that interview. And I'm going to do a whole special about Wicked. I'm going to talk about the musical. I'm going to talk about how the musical was adapted into this two-part film. I'm going to talk about the differences between Wicked, just straight up Wicked, and Wicked for Good, and talk about the performances and all of that coming up very soon. All right, I'm just going to reiterate one more time. Oh, again, I almost forgot. And I'll be coming back with some more interviews in the next couple of weeks. Remember, I told you about that Apple TV junket that I did where I spoke to Amber and Kaya and Mindy and Leslie and Laura and Ricky and Josh and Kristen Wiig. Oh, I have been doing so many interviews that I've gotten a little bit behind on my writing. So I'm going to catch up on that in the next couple of days as well. But I really want to make sure that you all get that. Again, make sure you check out Nuremberg. It is coming to theaters on November 7th. You don't want to miss it. You really, really don't. This film is gorgeously shot. Oh, and I think I talked about Leo Woodall before, but Leo Woodall is in this film and he does a fantabulous job. He plays the role of Howie, and he has a really fabulous speech. Let me come on camera. He has a really fabulous speech that happens toward the end of the film. You really don't want to miss that. And then one more time, I'm just going to do it one more time. The Christmas Showdown. You don't want to miss the Christmas Showdown, coming to OWN and HBO Max with your girl, Carla Renata, Oba Babatunde, Corbin Reed, Amber Stevens West, and Loretta Devine. I'm actually trying to fill because I forgot to compress this interview with Connie Nielsen. But in the meantime, if y'all have some questions for me, you can ask me now. And if not, then I will just continue to talk until this interview downloads, because that's how we kind of roll. What else could I talk to you about? Oh, let me talk to you about, so I want to tell you this too. I have done nearly let me come back on camera. I've done nearly 700 episodes of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. 700 episodes. I started out doing this over at Black Hollywood Live, and it went from there to my house because the pandemic was unforgiving in that way, and I had to do what I had to do. But I have done 700 episodes. I don't even know how many artists I have talked to, but by the end of the year, probably somewhere close to the end of December, I will probably have a holiday show to commemorate that, because I mean, why would I not? why would I not do that? It's crazy that I've done that many episodes and have had the opportunity to, you know, come through here and talk to y'all and tell you all about these movies and interview all these people. I've been so incredibly blessed and favored and just excited that I get to do what I get to do, that I would love to share it with you. It'll be a pre-taped episode, the 700th episode of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. And I'll make an announcement about how we're going to transition into the new year, because the podcast is going to have a different look. It's going to have a different feel. It's going to have a different name. And it's going to shift into another lane. So I'm really excited to talk to y'all about that and tell you all about it, as well as celebrate my 700th episode and get all of that out there for you guys to celebrate with me. I always like to thank Brandon for popping through and thanking everybody else that pops through after the fact, because I know how busy our lives are and you can't always sit up here for an hour watching somebody's YouTube podcast, and you probably speed through it. Like, you'll probably speed through this part of me running my mouth crazy, but that's that. Finally, here's the interview with Connie Nielsen and Sean for Robin Hood. Hello, Sean and Connie. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. I love this series mostly because we get to see a backstory about Robin Hood that I've never seen before in my lifetime. And it's very, very interesting how it plays out. And it's even more interesting with you two people involved in it. So thank you for that. I want to talk a little bit about grief. It seems to be a prevalent theme for your characters throughout the series. And I feel like grief ultimately changes the trajectory of your characters and their families, right? So what is it about this one emotion do you think has the ability to change one's mindset in a positive or negative manner?
I think that grief is a way of putting things into perspective. And, you know, I think grief will, it can either destroy you or it can hone you into the instrument of something else. And I think that in this case, in my case, you know, whenever she has lost something, Eleanor has found a way to make herself wiser, of looking even further, you know, what's going on in the room, who is doing what and why, and to become the person who really uses empathy to put herself in the other person's position and therefore be able to read whatever it is that she can figure out they're going to do. And I also think that grief puts you in direct connection with your value system. I think if you believe in certain just morals and ethics, you will probably be the more connected to them following a moment of grief.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm quite lucky in this series because I don't have many moments of grief because we're more powerful, and we destroy a lot of other people that we're not really bothered about. I'm sorry, it just sounds like a bit basic. But, you know, I mean, there's certainly that aspect of it. One thing that wasn't explored that might be interesting to explore in the future, should we be lucky enough to do any more episodes, is the relationship or the existence of my wife, who's, you know, the mother of my daughter, Priscilla. So there is a kind of sense of loss that runs through that for the sheriff, and whether he doesn't speak about that because it's too painful, or whether he just puts a lid or a cap on it, you know, is something that maybe explode in the future. But as I said, you know, that we're the ruling power, we're the ruling party, so our sense of grief is not quite as acute as the people who of the Anglo-Saxons that are being oppressed. They're the ones that are suffering the most grief.
Yeah, but you put the nail on the head, because when it comes to grief, it's not necessarily a feeling of loss of a person. It can be a feeling of loss of power. It comes in many different
Yeah,
forms. So I really love
absolutely.
that you answered
Yes.
it in that way. But y'all, I had so many more questions, but that is my time. Thank you so much for
You're
giving me
welcome.
Thank
the
you.
opportunity to speak to you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's nice to talk to you too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. They were lovely and so polite. Again, you guys, Robin Hood is streaming via Amazon MGM right now. It debuts today on that channel. That's it, y'all. I stretched and I made it through to the end. So I will see you next week. Let me make sure I don't have anything that's left unsaid. I do not. I do not have anything that's left unsaid. All right. So love, peace, and hair grease until the next time. And deuces, baby. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Hold up. Wait a minute.